Hello everyone. Hope you're doing great. This is Motorsport Progression, and I'm back again with another video. So this video is gonna be told. We're gonna be talking about the Japanese Grand Prix 2025, the actual race debrief, and what happened on the Sunday. So going into the Japanese Grand Prix weekend, McLaren won the first two races, and Ferrari won the other sprint race. So McLaren looked like the quickest team, the fastest team. Even in free practice one, they were quickest. Free practice two, they were quickest. Free practice three, they were quickest. So now going into qualifying, it looked like it's gonna be either Lando Norris or Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri. That's gonna be driving the car. Sorry, that's gonna be putting it on pole position. Yeah. So now in qualifying, Max Verstappen, like he pulled out a surprise. Yeah, after struggling all weekend with the Red Bull was handling, yeah, he pulled out a surprise and put it on pole position. So moving on, you had Max Verstappen on pole position with the two McLarens lining up behind him, for the grid for the Grand Prix. So it looked exciting. So everyone was, even me, I was looking forward to the McLarens putting up a challenge and trying to overtake Max. But I knew that track is very very narrow, and is I'm not saying Max is unbeatable from pole position, but most of the time his wins from pole position record is over 70%. That's what I would know. I'm sure it's over 70%. And so now let's dive into it straight away. So the Japanese Grand Prix was going to be 53 laps here. Verstappen was on pole position. He kept the lead over Norris into turn one, and then Piastri slotted into third. So Norris, slotted into second. Norris had a good start here, just slightly quicker than his reaction time, slightly quicker than Verstappen by like 5 thousandths of a second. Like Max Verstappen's reaction time was 0.29, yeah, and Norris's reaction time was 0.24. So Norris had a slightly quicker reaction time. He had a good start here, but Max cut him off in it. So Max cutting him off, he couldn't slot into the lead. And look at the back of the grid as well. Gabriel Bortoleto in the Sauber, he started 17th, but by the time he got into turn one, he was in 20th. But he was in the harder tires, and everyone else around him was on the soft tires. So I can understand, where he's coming from. And then Liam Lawson as well on the first lap made a mistake here. He started on 14th position, and Yuki Tsunoda started in 15th position. Remember, these two drivers had to swap places, for the Japanese Grand Prix, with each going to the other team. Tsunoda going to Red Bull and Lawson going to the Racing Bulls. So Lawson made a mistake and he lost the place to Tsunoda there. So the bragging rights was going just there. And Carlos Sainz has well done a beautiful move on Nico Hulkenberg at the hairpin. So it's all happening on lap one. It's all happening on lap one. So the race, settled down a little bit. Then on lap six of 10, I had Lewis Hamilton passing Isaac Hadjar for seventh position. So Hamilton in the Ferrari passing Isaac Hadjar in the Racing Bulls. And then the pit stops came around, yeah. The pit stops came around and Lando Norris. So basically Max came in and then Lando came in straight away on the same lap here. But Lando's pit stop was 1 second better than Max's pit stop. And then Max came out, and then Lando tried to beat him to the lead, but it didn't work. So Max kept the line on the left side, and then Lando drove into the grass a little bit, and then Lando was trying to pass, with the pit limiter, trying to pass in the pit lane or just outside the pit lane, and there was complaints over the radio from both drivers. Lando's like, listen, he pushed me wide, and Max is like, look, he drove himself off and he turned off his pit limiter a little bit early. And even the commentators was like, look, how did he know that he turned his pit limiter off a little bit early, and that was a little bit funny there from Max, and then I feel like McLaren could have went for an alternate strategy. They could have went a few laps longer, yeah, and gave Lando a tire offset. They could have even went like maybe 5 or 10 laps longer and gave Lando a tire offset towards the end of the race. It was a one stopper anyway, so they should have done an alternate strategy to Max Verstappen. They shouldn't have just followed Max in, and they had the pace in the car if they had free air. If Lando had free air, yeah, he would have been able to overtake Max, but maybe they didn't think of the calculations like that. But in that race, Max was very, very, he was very quick. He was very controlled. He controlled the race from the beginning. He kept them just, like between 1 and 2 seconds behind. Yeah, he kept the two McLarens between 1 and 2 seconds behind. So, he could react to any safety cars or, any incidents on track, you know so they couldn't undercut him really, so Max really, really drove well. And on lap 30 as well, Isaac Hadjar in the racing bulls, he passed Carlos Sainz for ninth position, and then Oliver Behrman in the Haas F1 tried to pass Sainz as well at the final chicane. And on lap 42 as well, Oscar Piastri radio, he's like, look, Lando should pick up the pace. And he told McLaren, look, I believe I got more pace than Lando to get Max. And he repeated that on lap 43 as well. He's like, yo, I know I got the pace, to take Max. So if you can, let me through. But McLaren wasn't really having it from Oscar Piastri. They weren't listening to him, so that was the results there. And on lap 49, you had Piastri was just 4 tenths behind Lando Norris, So Piastri was putting pressure on Norris, but he couldn't overtake, because of the nature of the track. It's very narrow. And for you to overtake, you need like a 2 second overspeed, for you to overtake. Or it has to be raining, so the conditions favor you a little bit. And Lando was also closing in on Max here towards the end of the race, putting pressure on Max, but it wasn't enough. And so 53 out of 53 laps here, Max drove brilliantly, and he won his fourth race in a row in Suzuka at that track here. And he showed that he's very, very good at that track. So congratulations to Max Verstappen on winning the Japanese Grand Prix in Suzuka. That was his fourth win in a row and his fourth pole position in a row. So setting records there. And the podium positions was Max Verstappen in first position, Lando Norris in second position, and Oscar Piastri in third position. And a surprising fact was the top three here that I just mentioned were covered by 2.1 seconds. They were covered by 2.1 seconds. So it shows you how close the battle was. But the McLarens couldn't really make an impression on Max Verstappen. But I wish Lando had some free air after Max pitted. He shouldn't have pitted on the same lap. If he had some free air and maybe went, let's say, 10 laps longer, he would have had the tire offset towards the end of the race. Maybe Max would have held on to the win, but it would have made it much more exciting. He would have had to drive, but maybe he would have lost the place to Piastri as well. So he would have had to overtake Piastri and Max. But McLaren has to get a team order sorted. Sometimes they have to let Lando go, because Lando is the older teammate, yeah. And I'm not saying Piastri can't fight for the world championship, but Lando has proven that he can put pressure on Max, yeah, and make Max, think twice, about his strategies and stuff like that. So sometimes McLaren have to tell Piastri, look, get out of the way, let Lando, move to Max and see what happens. But yeah, peeps, I'm just gonna wrap it up here. Yeah. I just want to say to everyone, thank you for your support. And, thank you for, showing love to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell as well. Like the video because that helps the algorithm. And then drop your comments below. If you got any comments, drop it. Let me know your thoughts about the Japanese Grand Prix over the weekend. And if you got any questions to ask me about motorsports, feel free to ask. And then share the video as well on your various social media platforms so other people can find out as well about it. And also you can click on another video because there's more content on the channel that you can learn from. And you can always come back on the channel to, check out new content. So peeps, I'm just gonna wrap it up here. I just want to say thank you to everyone. And don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And I'm on to the next one. Thank you.